Hello, everyone.
Good
Welcome to another exciting episode of Control or Be Controlled. It's a brand new day and a brand new day and a brand new episode with you guys. And I've missed you guys a lot once again. I'm happy to be here with my listeners. And today we have Jerry Larkowski on the show. Jerry brings a distinctive perspective to real estate investing. He combines deep legal expertise with boots on the ground market intelligence in Arkansas's resilient heartland market. Jerry, welcome to Control or Be Controlled.
morning. Good morning. Good to be here.
All right, Jerry. So I would like you to also add a little bit introduction to that my introduction.
Yes, my name is Jerry Larkowski. I am both a real estate broker and an attorney of 35 years. For 25 of those 35 years, I was a trial lawyer. For those who have never thought through that, that means that no matter what you're doing, any kind of a transaction, contract, whatever, when it gets to its worst spot, it's in a court where people are fighting over what happened or what the deal was, and nothing prepares you better to go into a transaction than to know somebody that's already been in the battle, thinking ahead of what might come up if you ever get to that spot that's 20 steps down the road. So that has really been a great benefit to my real estate practice and other things in life too. But for our purposes today, for that, I walked away from it in 2015 before I felt burnout. Worked for corporate America for 5 years, and COVID came along, and uh, that was the end of my corporate America dalliance. I got laid off for the first time in my life, like many people did, and I had a real estate license and a law license. And so in 2020, I did a complete makeover, so to speak, with my career, and have been selling real estate full time now for over 6 years. Having a blast, loving it. Still practicing a little bit of real estate law, but having a blast selling people homes, helping investors buy homes, helping investors buy investment property, selling it when everybody's ready. And I've just added to all the experience, knowledge, and wisdom that I gained as a trial lawyer, having gone through over 180 transactions in the last 5 years, and uh, that puts me in usually the top 5 to 10% of the market here in Central Arkansas. So I'm proud of that, but I've worked hard to get to it, and hope that helps me and equips me to be able to walk through your podcast this morning. So uh, I hope that was what you were looking for.
All right, thank you so much, Jerry. So let's get into the show. We have been warning about the commercial real estate balloon payment crisis for months. Can you break down what's actually happening and what it means for everyday investors?
Sure, absolutely. So um, when most people buy a house, they um, get a loan from a lender. That's usually a 30-year mortgage, maybe a 15-year mortgage. Those tend to be the most popular. And you have the same payment for that full 15 years, 30 years, etc. And the principal and interest payment never changes. And that's something that's uh, comforting because you can plan a long time what your payment's going to be as it relates to your budget. Taxes and insurance, of course, go up and down, uh, but that happens with everybody. But those are the two most conventional type financing vehicles that people are used to. When it comes to investment property, and this could be available with an owner occupied residence too, it's just not very common. But when it comes to investment property, whether they're buying single family residence houses and renting them out, whether they're buying multiplexes, whether they're buying apartments, whether they're buying um, anything commercial, whether it's retail, industrial, etc., the financing options grow large past just those two 30-year and 15-year. They typically will lend you money on a 30-year basis or on a 15-year basis. So in other words, the loan would be like if you did get a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year mortgage, but they put a balloon payment after typically 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, sometimes 10 years. and the note comes due at that 3, 5, 7, 10, whatever period, rather than at the 15-year period or at the 30-year period. Now, back in 2020, 2021, early 2022, when the interest rates were gorgeous, a lot of financing went on to be able to enjoy low payments. But that 5 years has been up for some. It's up for some right now. And there are some that are staring at that later this year, early next year. And you basically have three options when that note becomes due. One is to pay it off, which most investors don't want to do because they want to be able to make as much use of their cash as they can. And when you do that, you tie up cash. So I'm not saying that never happens. It's just probably the rarest of the three. Your second option is to refinance it. The problem with that is the interest rates are higher now. And unless your principal pay down in the last 5 years is really close to the principal that you would finance now relative to the payments on the interest rates now, if it's close, it might be worth it for you to refinance. But if it's not, and you are renting this out or you're having trouble with renting out space or making money with it, that's going to kill cash flow, even if you can keep your payments the same. So that's a consideration that they have to make to decide whether to do that or to just sell the property. When you sell the property, you're going to pay it off at the end of that balloon period, and you're off the hook. And that's what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of investors that are listing their properties because we've had so much uncertainty in the last year between tariffs and global war and global economy, and especially in the last few months with respect to oil and grain and all the things that revolve around, shipping from around the planet. Those costs have not been under as much control as they typically are. And that uncertainty affects people from all walks of life, lower income, higher income, different parts of political perspectives. It affects everyone, and it has affected everyone. And that uncertainty exists with investors also. So rather than refinance, sign up for another 3, 5, 7, 10 years, et cetera, and roll the dice that they are going to be able to fill their space that they're going to rent out and be able to make the cash flow work, they may just sell and roll that money into something else to make them money. And I don't ever blame anybody for that, because those that have multiple investment properties have what you would call an inventory. An inventory no different than a car lot has, a dealership, an inventory that a grocery store has, or a Walmart or a Target. And when your inventory isn't selling, you have to take stuff off the shelves and put it somewhere else and try to put inventory on your shelves, on your parking lot, to be able to sell and make money, because inventory that just sits does not make money. It costs money. So I am seeing a lot of investors selling what they bought 4 or 5 years ago. I don't blame them, but that is one of the three options. And if they get what they want or get what they need, that's probably the lowest risk and the best use of all of their capital.
All right. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful answer, Jerry. So moving on, you are a licensed trial attorney and a managing broker. How does having a law background change the way you approach a real estate transaction compared to a standard agent?
Well, a standard agent doesn't have a law school education, which is not like any other education where you go in and you read books, chapters, studies, write, etc., and just acquire knowledge. Law school is hyper training of analysis and criticism. And so you really walk out of law school with a different way of thinking than most people do. But you don't lose what you had before then, which is what most agents have. So lawyers that have real estate licenses just have a second layer available to them, which gives them an edge because it gives more things to consider, more options, maybe more little in-depth analysis, etc. And they've probably seen more things blow up and fail so than the average person would that would have a real estate license. Now, the more that you've been a real estate licensee, the more deals and problems you've probably seen over the years. But for someone who's been out 5 years with a law degree and someone who's been out 5 years without a law degree, that law degree is just not going to get in the way of any analysis and assistance that you can give to clients. So that basically is where we have an edge. And like I said earlier, I had 25 years in courtrooms where it was the end of the rope on the transaction is that not only is the deal not going through, but the parties can't figure out a way to resolve it. And so they have to put it up in front of a judge or a jury and live with that person's decision or that jury's decision. And, most real estate agents don't ever see a courtroom. And folks like me have seen them for years and have been in them for years. So that's probably a very basic answer. But, a fact scenario that would pop up if you gave me one right now, and I'm not asking you to, and we didn't plan to, but if I get calls all the time, I get people come in the office and say, hey, here's what happened. You reflexively jump right in and provide an analysis and advice and wisdom that you gain from experience. And that's just something that, the average real estate licensee would not have.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jerry. So, interest rates. Everyone keeps waiting for them to drop back to pandemic lows. What do you actually think is going to happen? And what should buyers be doing right now instead of just waiting?
Well, if I knew what was going to happen with interest rates, we probably would not be having this conversation. I would be probably making so much money that you would have had to pay me a lot of money to come on your podcast. So I don't know. I can tell you what I've seen and what I sense, but my recommendation to people is don't worry about things that you can't control. And nobody can control the interest rates. And I think if anybody's paid attention to the news in the last year or so, even the president of the United States, as much as he has tried, cannot control interest rates. So I tell everyone, don't worry about what the interest rates are. Find a house, find a piece of property that you want to buy, and get what you can afford with the interest rates as they are. Because in the future, the interest rates will change, but the price that you paid for that property will never change. And there's nothing you can do, really, ostensibly, to change the price that you paid for that property. And the interest rates are going to change. They never just freeze at one point. If they stay the same, you've lost nothing. If the interest rates drop and you refinance, you're going to lower your payments, and that's always a good thing. Or you're going to you're going to refinance and go down to a shorter term and still pay the same or something close or whatever you can afford. And then the third option is the interest rates went up from when you bought. And guess what? You win. So I don't see a whole lot of reason to pause and wait on interest rates to fall because A, you're not going to be able to control them. B, every month that you don't own a home, you're not paying down principal. When you're renting, your landlord is either making a mortgage payment with the money you give them, and you're paying down your landlord's principal and allowing them to build up wealth, and you're at basically 100% interest rates when you're renting, because every dollar that you give does not add any value to where you're living. So I tell everyone, you're going to lose money most of the time if you wait. I did an analysis with ChatGPT 2 weeks ago and said, hey, the interest rates 2 years ago in 2024 at the end of June were 6.8 something or another. And the day that I ran the analysis, it was 6.4 something or another. And I dropped it into ChatGPT and I said, hey, if somebody was going to borrow $200,000 2 years ago at 6.8 to buy a house, and just to keep the math simple, let's consider that it was 100% financing, which is out there. And they chose to wait until now and jump in at 6.4% interest rate. How much wealth did they lose out on at those interest rates at $200,000? And it was somewhere, and I'm going from memory, I don't have it in front of me, but it was somewhere around $4,000 to $8,000 a year. I think it was closer to 4, but depending on what values you use, it could be 8%. It could be 8,000, and that's a lot of money. If you look at anybody today and say, if you buy this today, in 2 years you will have $8,000, $16,000, whatever more, or stay the same and you won't. What are people going to do? And if you're thinking, well, I don't know about home ownership and all that, what have you, your principal and interest payment is going to stay the same for the next 15 years, 30 years, whatever term that you sign up for. Go to your landlord that you're buying a house for and tell them you want to freeze your rent for the next 15 to 30 years and watch them laugh at you. No investor is going to do that. No landlord is going to do that. So if there's any benefit, the biggest benefit is you've got predictability for the next 15 to 30 years, what your payment is going to be for where you live. And taxes and insurance are probably going to go up. They may come down every now and then. But again, that's another thing you can't control. And they're going to go up at where you rent. And don't think the landlord is just going to say, I'll eat that extra cost. No, they're going to raise your rent or they're going to lose money. And nobody goes into this really to lose money. So I've had a little motto for the last few years that has basically been, it's on the back of my business card. There's never a bad time to buy or sell a house. And I still stand by that. There never is a bad time to buy or sell a house. And I think anyone who is renting right now and plans not to move out of town anytime in the next 3 to 4 years should be looking at options to buy their house.
Okay, thank you so much, Jerry. Definitely, no one knows or nobody has a clear idea or will I say, knowledge about interest rates. So, in my own knowledge, those who want to wait, they might as well wait. For those who don't want to wait, they might as well go ahead and do what they want to do. But I would also lean onto your own expertise and your own answer. Thank you so much. So, tariffs have pushed up construction costs. Does new construction still make sense for investors in your market, or has the math shifted?
Well, investors that can buy new construction, I think that's what your question is that if investors can buy new construction, they're going to love that. And here's why. There's going to be a warranty for at least a couple of years from either the builder or the builder's warranty company. Insurance for the first 10 years after new construction is going to be a lot less than on an existing structure. And so that's going to add to their bottom line, cutting out that cost if they're building it for themselves to rent out. We were talking earlier about how, interest rates are going to go up and down, and but your payment stays the same. But then you've got the taxes and insurance that are in a lot of your house payments. And I said insurance will go up and down. Here's where you can have a little more control over that insurance rate. It's going to be less than if you bought something that's existing. With it being new construction, that it should be in very good shape. And so the amount of money you're going to spend on repairs in the first few years is going to be substantially lower, even if you get it inspected, even if you go over it with a fine tooth comb. Something's going to happen. It always does. And repair is just a built-in cost that most investors that are going to be landlords have to factor in. But new construction is very appealing to them. I think our biggest issue with that is, like you said earlier, tariffs have made the prices go up. The workforce has shrunk some with the immigration policy that we have right now. So when you have a lower supply of workers, the cost of labor is going to go up unless the demand drops. And the demand is not dropping. We are still, I was reading this morning, we are still years later at a point where we need more inventory in the housing market across the United States. I think it could still be appealing. They have to run their numbers. And if they're doing the new construction themselves, there is a lot of benefit to the newer depreciation method from the last few years called cost segregation, where they can take a bigger chunk in that first year, and that can help them absorb the higher costs that come with tariffs. So, I don't know that is completely shutting things down. It's having an effect on it. It would be better if we didn't have the tariffs. It'd be better if we had a little bit better global economy. But new construction is still happening, and most people would want to have that for the peace of mind of knowing that the number of repairs out there are going to be fewer. There are warranties out there to back up big problems. And I do have buyers that do not want brand new cookie cutter type houses. They want something with some character, some age, charm that is, appealing and withstood the test of time, and our good old classic architectural styles. And there are those out there that want that, but you're going to have that all the time. A majority of people, though, just want a place to live that is low maintenance, that's affordable, and is a good place that they can go home and rest after a full day.
Okay, Jerry, moving on. You work with both investors and owner occupants, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you work with them on the same properties. So how do you navigate that? And what does each side need to understand about competing in today's market?
Sure. So, yes, I have for the last few years invested both investors and owner occupants that wanted to buy properties. Despite the high volume that I enjoyed, I can count on one hand the number of times an investor and an different owner occupant client were pursuing the same house. There's a very easy way to handle that. And that is you give the same advice to both of them. So you're not favoring one over the other, and let them make an educated decision based on your advice. And whichever one wins out is the one that's going to win out, because that's going to happen whether I'm representing the other one or somebody else is. So I don't have any heartburn with that. I've been licensed uh, in the legal field long enough to know what a conflict of interest is, and I'm very good about making sure that I don't uh, work my way into that. And the best way to do that is to be able to give the same advice, especially if you put it in an email. So I've not had a problem with that, and that was more back when we had a rush on houses in 21 and 22 and early 23. I haven't had that issue come up. I do continue though to represent both investors and owner occupants because it makes me a better real estate broker for investors when I can tell them, hey, I just showed houses to people that want to be an owner occupant last week, and this is what I see them questioning. This is what they like. This is what they don't like. And I can pass that knowledge along to you. If I do nothing but represent investors, I'm going to have a one dimensional stream of advice for you. But by representing owner occupants, I can tell you what your future tenants, because these people are probably tenants, are going to want. And you're going to want them to rent your property, not somebody else's. By the same token, when it comes to owner occupants, I tell them, someday you're going to want to sell this house, and there's a chance that an investor is going to want to pick it up. And so I'm going to comment along the way about things that you might want to consider so that if you ever did have to unload this in a couple of years because of some job move or life change or whatever, that you've got some issues preserved for your next owners. And I can give you a perspective of what investors are looking for and wouldn't be able to unless I represented them too.
Okay, Jerry. So moving on, you have said the only thing better than artificial intelligence is natural intelligence. Jerry, you said that, right?
Yes. Yeah, that I've made that line up years ago and I stand by it.
Okay, so what does that mean for the future of real estate professionals in an AI-driven world?
I was reading just yesterday a study that came to me from an email list that I'm on that I forget who did it. If it was Bank of America, it was some big, huge company, and it may not have been Bank of America, but that's what's popping in my head right now. It was a large corporation that is vested in this, and their study showed that Gen Z is starting out using AI to create their analysis, look for homes, etc. But they have come to realize that when they are ready and they have either a slate of properties they want to look at or they're ready to pull the trigger, they know they're going to need the help from a human being. Uh, AI did not raise them from childbirth through youth and teenage years, etc. Humans did, and we are all still humans. So I find that encouraging. That a majority of them said they still do plan on using uh, people that are professionals that can help and guide them through that. But everybody starts online. Everybody starts online with just about everything that they want. Even if they're going to go shop in a store, they might want to go take a look and see, hey, does Target have this at a better price than Walmart? Hey, does Home Depot have this at a better price than Lowe's does, et cetera? I mean, that's just natural. It cuts down on your driving around town time like you had to do back in the 80s and 90s, and 70s. Uh, so yeah, no, I think artificial intelligence is in the long term going to be a really effective tool, uh, but it's not going to replace as many humans as we think that it is. I think the ones that use it are going to find that humans still add a lot of value to what uh, contributes to any kind of an analysis or work, et cetera, on things. You know, I have my little tongue in cheek of natural intelligence being better than artificial intelligence. It basically means, human intelligence. There are elements in a human that are not elements in artificial intelligence. And emotion is one of them, and motivation is one of them. You watch sporting events and watch the Cinderella teams and the underdogs pull off a win against some powerhouse. In AI, 99% of the time, AI would say, well, powerhouse is going to beat Cinderella. 99% of the time, you type it in, that's what it's going to say. And you just cannot divorce yourself from human elements that are not present in technology. Because at the end of the day, when you're done with whatever you're analyzing, when you're done buying whatever you're buying, when you're ever done finishing up whatever you started and used AI, humans are going to live with that. AI is going to live with it in their database and the analysis that they give advice to people on down the road. But you don't go through all this just to make AI happy. You go through it to make yourself happy and your friends, your family, your coworkers, or whoever. And I think we need to just take a step back and realize that AI is not going to make us any less humans, and we really shouldn't. It should be a good tool that's a time saver that helps with analysis and keeps one focused and on the right path, that speeds up the analysis, and allows you more time to make a decision or allows you to get a task done in a lot shorter time. So, yeah, I stand by that. Artificial intelligence, I use it every day, but you just can't replace human intelligence. You can't replace human emotion, motivation, etc. And I hope everybody thinks on that and grows to accept it.
All right, thank you so much, Jerry. So, all right, Jerry, is there one question you wish I would have asked you that I did not ask you?
Um, no, I think those are the topics that I'm pretty much talking about to everybody. Um, I just can't stress enough. I cannot stress enough to buyers out there that they should not wait on interest rates, because the people that have been waiting on interest rates for 2 or 3 years are probably going to be waiting on interest rates for 2 or 3 years, and it's probably not going to happen. We got the interest rates that we got because we had a pandemic in 2020 that came out of nowhere. And the last pandemic we had was almost 100 years prior to that. So unless they plan on sitting around waiting on 100 years for their interest rates to come down, which is laughable, but it's the point that I'm making. You can't wait on interest rates. You know, there's an old phrase that lenders use, that realtors use too, that says, "Marry the house but date the rate." Um, you know, that's cute, et cetera. But I still go by the second level analysis, and that is, you will be able to change the interest rate. You won't be able to change how much you paid for it. And so just do it now, because it's either going to stay the same and you're going to be okay, or it's going to improve and you're going to refinance and improve your payment or improve your pay down, or the interest rates are going to go up and you win because you got in lower than what they are when they went up. And you're still going to be paying down principal every month. And you're still going to have the value of your property going up. And that helps you in so many ways financially to acquire wealth, that if and there are reasons to rent. I don't want to I don't want to sound like I'm one dimensional, because if I was, then I wouldn't be representing investors. It would make no sense. There is there is a market out there of or a portion of the market that are renters that need to be renters for whatever variety of reasons. But those that are looking up to be able to improve things, to grow and to grow wealth, the sooner you get into buying your home, the better.
All right, Jerry, thank you so much for coming to Control or Be Controlled. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective and your insights on real estate and investing with me and my audience. So, for those who would like to connect with you and learn more about your work, how can they do that?
My phone number is 501 831 0372. My email address for real estate is jerry at esqbrokers.com, and that's to buy or sell property in Arkansas. And for legal advice, that I'm licensed in Arkansas, and I have a license that's inactive in Illinois, but I can comment on general legal principles on all states, basically. That one is Jerry Larkowski at gmail.com, Jerry, Jerry Larkowski, Larkowski, all one word, no dots or dashes, Jerry Larkowski at gmail.com.
All right, Jerry, once again, I really appreciate you taking out your time to come to my show and make this episode a very, very special one. And to my audience out there, I want to say a big thank you to you guys once again for tuning in today for a very special episode on Control or Be Controlled. And do have a wonderful day ahead. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful day, Jerry.
Thank you, you too.